just to play off of what we talked about a little bit yesterday, we have an opener poll, okay? So your question is, based upon our research thus far, what you checked out yesterday, what is your stance on the ending of the Renaissance?
I'm Kirstin Sobotka, and I teach 9th grade English at Cabell Midland High School in Ono, West Virginia. This lesson has the students take a look at the historical relevancy of Shakespeare. There's a huge debate as to whether or not the Renaissance is still ongoing or it's ended or if it even existed. So I think that's important to talk about when we look at Shakespeare as well, because he's considered one of the major players in the Renaissance. A lesson flow involves the integration of standards and objectives with technology. Technology could be a device, a website, an app, any digital tool that makes those standards more relevant to the students. It's hands-on with content and technology.
Okay, I have 18 votes. Can I get 5 more?
In the hook of the lesson, students have watched John Green's crash course video on the Renaissance. They're going to conduct a poll everywhere where they'll choose one of those options. Has the Renaissance already ended? Is it still ongoing, or did it not exist? After the results appear from the poll everywhere, they'll use that to draw conclusions.
Just quickly go ahead and draw your EAT conclusion. Remember, an EAT conclusion is evidence plus knowledge of you, what you know already, equals your conclusion. Okay, so let's share 3 of them. Brighton?
Throughout the years, the Renaissance blended with the Enlightenment theory. The Renaissance is still happening. It just evolved into a more advanced method of learning based on new discoveries.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll into our research and the Chalkup.
For the direct instruction, we talk about elements of the Renaissance that peaked, for example, literature, music, architecture, and we talk about how those played a role in the Renaissance, but also how they play a role in our current society too. After we have the discussion about those elements in our current society, then with our quads, we'll research them individually.
So what you're going to do now is, in your quads, you're going to research the sources for your script. Okay, so when we find a source we really like, what do we need to do?
Post it to Chalkup.
We need to post it to Chalkup with what? The cell line, and what information needs to be in the cell line? Creator, general information present, and how you're going to use it in your podcast, okay?
I've done this lesson before, low tech. It's called limelight cards, which the students just stood up in front of the classroom in the limelight talking through their points. When you add the technology, they're able to manipulate and learn about websites that'll really assist them in future classes. In the guided practice, we take our topics and we find sources on the internet. They could be database, websites, articles, videos, and they find those resources and they post them on the Chalkup website with a cell line, and a cell line is just a sentence that advertises the information that's available in the source, creator information, and perhaps how they'll use it in their podcast.
In the part where you put what the speaker is going to say, you don't have to write complete sentences. You can put bullet points, just general talking points.
In the independent practice, they'll take the sources that they've posted on Chalkup or use someone else's sources, and they'll put those together and they'll create a script. So in this step, they're scripting, they're drafting their podcast, what each speaker plans on saying. They'll also incorporate text-based stems.
So you're getting close to the recording phase, which is awesome. There are 2 recording areas back here in my office and then in this little cove right back here, okay?
So in the recording process, the students will take their script into a quiet place and they'll hold the iPad in between them and they'll simply talk into the video function. And then after they finish, they'll end the recording and they'll follow the technical directions to upload it to the audioBoom site.
On the green paper in the green bin are the technical directions for recording, uploading, and publishing.
Using the audioBoom website really promotes speaking and listening. The students learn that they have to articulate, but also they have to speak a certain way to a particular type of audience.
Comedies and dramas are a part of the Renaissance, and because of comedies and dramas, we have our favorite TV shows and movies.
So with the podcast creation, they're able to exercise those practices, as well as have a creation piece possible for students to assess it when it's being played. I think it's really important to have that creation piece, that takeaway from the lesson. So that's how it connects so strongly to Common Core, through collaboration, through evaluating the sources they use, and through that digital creation. In the wrap-up, we are listening to the podcasts that the students have uploaded to the audioBoom website. It's really exciting for us. We get to see the fruits of their labor throughout the class today, and they're excited, and the students actually learn from their other peers.
We have one finished podcast. We're going to listen to it. All right, so you ready?
And today we'll be discussing the change between science and Shakespeare's Renaissance and today's science.
Teaching with technology has changed by teaching by just making learning more exciting. You know, we were trying to think of all these activities, low-tech activities to get the kids up and moving, but when you throw in a really cool website or add in a device that has an app, it's a game changer. Everybody gets excited, they're starting to work with their partners, and the products are just so much more professional and sleeker, and they just get excited about it.
The point of today's lesson was to find out how the Renaissance affects the modern society. Each group had different topics to research and find out information about and make a small podcast.
I liked creating the podcast because where it didn't capture your face and you didn't have to present live in front of the class, it killed off a lot of the stage fright that you would normally have when presenting something.
Using the tools to help me learn was a lot of fun because Chalkup is sort of like a social media website, so it's a lot quicker and you know how to use it faster, so you can find the information that you need, you can add comments to certain people's sources, and then other people can use these sources as well.
Think of that end product and how you can, raise the rigor in that using technology. If it's a website, if it's a creation tool, if it's a piece of technology, think about what you can do to add technology to that end product. And then as you start designing with the end in mind, you'll see how other pieces of technology will assist that final product.
Okay, make sure your computers are shut down, screens black before we put them back in the netbook cart. Thanks, guys.